Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and honestly totally life-changing concept from the psychology of money. You know, the hardest financial skill out there isn't actually figuring out how to earn more money. It's knowing when you finally have enough. So to kick things off, I want to invite you into a quick thought experiment. Close your eyes for a second and imagine that you've acquired absolutely everything you've ever dreamed of. We're talking the ultimate textbook markers of success here. You've got a gorgeous home that's perfectly tailored to your exact tastes. There's a stunning luxury car sitting right in the driveway. You've built this wildly successful career where your peers respect and admire you. And to top it all off, you have millions of dollars sitting comfortably in the bank. I mean, you've won the game, right? So here's the million-dollar question. Would you finally be satisfied? Now, if you're like most people, your immediate gut reaction is, well, yeah, of course I would. But look, history tells a profoundly different story. Some of the absolute richest people in the world weren't satisfied with millions or even billions. They just kept wanting more. And in that relentless, nonstop process of chasing more, they actually ended up losing absolutely everything. Part 1, the illusion of success. Let's dive right into why having it all can sometimes be a bit of an illusion. Because really, this is a story about human nature. Let's take a look at the psychology behind why we always seem to want more. Think back to when you were a kid. Do you remember wanting a new bicycle? You probably thought, man, if I just had that bike, my life would be perfect. And then you got it. And for a few weeks, you were on cloud 9. But soon enough, you wanted something else. A gaming console, maybe a new phone. Well, as adults, that exact pattern doesn't really change. We honestly just swap out the toys. Instead of bikes, we're obsessing over bigger salaries, larger houses, newer cars, and fancier job titles. Psychologists actually call this the hedonic treadmill. It's basically our natural tendency to quickly adapt to what we have and almost instantly start wanting something more. You get a raise, your lifestyle upgrades, and suddenly that brand new higher salary just feels totally normal. The danger here isn't ambition. Ambition is great. The real danger is the false belief that happiness is always waiting for us at the very next achievement. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's imagine a young software engineer. We'll call him Raj. Starting out, his salary is pretty modest, and his dream is just to make $1,000 a month. He grinds, he works hard, and he hits it. Life is amazing for a bit. But then he starts noticing his coworkers are pulling in twice as much. Suddenly, that $1,000 doesn't feel so impressive anymore. So he bumps his target to $2,500. A few years go by, he reaches it, and again, the happiness totally fades. Before he knows it, he's daydreaming about a six-figure salary. His income keeps stepping up and up, but his actual satisfaction? Completely flat. Raj's problem isn't his paycheck. It's that his definition of enough is a constantly moving target. Part 2, the thief of contentment and the intense danger of comparing ourselves to others. This brings us to one of the biggest external pressures we face. Just imagine you're the absolute richest person in your neighborhood. You feel incredibly successful, right? You're proud of what you've built. Then, out of nowhere, a billionaire moves in right next door. Instantly, your success feels tiny. Nothing about your actual life, your house, or your bank account changed at all. Literally only your comparison changed. It is so true what they say. Comparison really is the thief of contentment. And let's be real, social media has basically put this trap on steroids. Every single day, we log on and see people flying first class, driving luxury cars, living in these insane dream homes. We are constantly bombarded by the highlight reel. But we have to remember the hidden reality. What we don't see are the massive loans, the personal sacrifices, the business failures, and all those sleepless nights behind the scenes. When we compare our messy, everyday reality to someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel, we're just quietly letting them steal our peace. To see how incredibly destructive this can be at the absolute highest levels, let's look at a cautionary tale shared by Morgan Housel in the text, the story of Rajat Gupta. Now, this was a highly respected, deeply admired business leader. He had built an extraordinary career, amassed immense wealth, and sat on the boards of some of the most influential companies on the planet. He literally had everything most of us could only dream of. And yet, he got involved in insider trading. Why? I mean, it certainly wasn't because he needed the money to pay rent. It was simply because he wanted more. He wanted to be a billionaire. And because of that insatiable desire, he faced criminal charges, went to prison, and completely destroyed a lifetime's worth of reputation. The lesson to take away from Rajat Gupta isn't that being successful is somehow bad or dangerous. It's that when more becomes your one and only goal, you can easily end up blindly risking everything you already have just to get it. This quote captures it perfectly. Sometimes protecting what you've built is wiser than chasing what you don't need.
Part 3. Redefining true wealth. It's time to choose freedom over competition.
Okay, let's pivot from the problem to the solution. Ask yourself right now, are you playing a game where every round gives you a little more money, but also dials up the chance of losing it all? Would you really want to keep playing that game forever? A lot of people do, just because they don't know where the finish line is. We have to reframe the ultimate goal here. Why do you actually want more money? If your honest, deep down answer is to have more freedom, then this is the core truth you need to internalize. Wealth is about freedom, not competition. Freedom doesn't mean you have to be richer than everyone else in your city. It just means having enough to live life entirely on your own terms. So the crucial thing to remember is that money should be a tool that creates options for you, not this source of endless pressure. What does true, actual financial freedom look like? Well, it's having enough to live on your own terms. It's having enough to spend quality time with your family without nervously checking your watch. It's having enough to pursue meaningful work that actually lights you up, instead of just chasing the biggest paycheck. And honestly, most importantly, it's having enough to sleep peacefully at night without that knot of financial anxiety in your stomach. That is real wealth. And to actually achieve that state of wealth, you need a tool that you probably wouldn't expect to find in a finance explainer: gratitude. Now, hear me out. Gratitude isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It is quite literally a highly practical financial superpower. When you recognize that constant comparison is ruining your happiness and you start truly appreciating what's already in front of you, you naturally start making much calmer financial decisions. You avoid dumb risks because you aren't desperate for more. You spend with intention and you save consistently. And remember, finding contentment doesn't kill your drive. It just acts as a shield against greed. You can absolutely still dream big while loving exactly where you are today. Part 4. Defining your own enough and setting your personal finish line. You know, the wealthiest people aren't necessarily the ones pulling in the biggest incomes. They're the ones who know when to stop chasing and start appreciating. You absolutely have to define your own finish line before society does it for you. After this explainer, I highly recommend you grab a notebook and really think through these 5 self-reflection questions. 1. What does enough actually mean to you? 2. Exactly how much income do you need to live comfortably? Like, put a real hard number on it. 3. Are you chasing a specific goal because you want it or just because someone else has it? 4. What are 3 things money has already brought into your life that you're super grateful for? And 5. If you hit your ultimate financial goal today, would you actually know how to hit the brakes? Keep in mind, there are no wrong answers here. The goal is just clarity. All right, let's quickly recap the core takeaways we've uncovered today. First up, more money does not automatically equal more happiness. Second, if you constantly compare yourself to others, your definition of success will never sit still. Third, greed takes over the exact second we forget what enough looks like. Fourth, the true purpose of wealth is to provide freedom, not to win some endless status competition. And finally, practicing gratitude actively protects you from taking unnecessary, dangerous financial risks. The world is always going to scream at you that you need a bigger paycheck, a better house, a faster phone, but real wealth? It's measured by how little you actually need to feel genuinely fulfilled. I want to leave you with this absolutely incredible quote from the source material to really lock this entire concept into your mind. The richest person isn't the one who has the most. It's the one who knows when they have enough. Once you figure out what enough looks like for your own life, you can finally step off the treadmill and stop running someone else's race. Money stops being this stressful, exhausting scoreboard and finally becomes what it was always meant to be, just a tool for living a great life. Before we go, here's a quick peek at what's coming up. In our next explainer, Part 6, we're diving into one of the most surprising lessons from the text, Wealth is What You Don't See. We're going to uncover why folks who look incredibly rich often aren't wealthy at all, and why the most financially successful people usually live way more modestly than you'd ever guess. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. But until then, I want you to carry this question with you for the rest of your day. Seriously, what does enough actually mean to you? Chew on it, define it for yourself, and start using your money to actually build your freedom. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.